talk about 1U LAN Center?
Yeah, sure. I have had an extremely challenging week, but also an extremely exciting week. Did you realize that the first video about the LAN center at the new house, can I even call it a new house anymore?
It's been 3 years.
It's got some scuffs on it. Like it's not new, that's for sure. It's still great, and I still love it, and I'm really excited about all the things that we've done with it. And actually, there's still lots of plans, but I don't know if it's new anymore. So whatever, my house. The first video that we did, unveiling the 1U gaming systems that we were going to put in the rack to have like super high gaming density in the rack. That was almost a year ago.
Ooh.
Since then, I have had laptops that I borrowed from work set up at all those stations.
Yeah, 11 months ago. This is my new gaming PC, 1U PCs for my new house, part 1.
That design, completely thrown away. Completely gone. Then it gets even better. We then did a follow-up video a couple months ago, I think it was, where we unveiled the all-new design. We ran into some problems. It was validated quite well by the team. Super proud of the team. Great job. But they didn't try a fiber optic DisplayPort cable. So what happened was the layout of that system had the GPU on the inside, which is totally a thing, especially for compute-oriented rack mount machines, where they'll just like have a bunch of GPUs lined up in there. They don't have display out anyway, so who cares? These do have display out, but they had a solution to that. We were going to have just little pass-through cables and just have a like a female jack at the back of the case to a male going into the GPU.
Even fancier than you would have needed to do, really.
Yeah, so pretty sick. Oh yeah, or just a pass-through, just a grommet
it's
going
not
into...
good.
That's rough because all of a sudden...
What you're doing is way better. I'm just saying, like, this is not an impossible to overcome problem.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, there's a couple of reasons that it was. The way the internal layout was, there was no space with like the power supply we needed and the GPU and the cable coming out of it. Like it actually didn't fit in the width. And then number 2 was that if you ran something through a grommet in a rack mount, you'd have no way to pull it out unless you had a bunch of slack at the back and you had it like perfectly.
You have to have one of those things where you have like the coiled cable on like a...
on like a track.
It's a bad solution.
But so anyway, so that design had to be substantially changed because all of a sudden we couldn't have the GPU inside the case. So this was a really good idea. I can't remember if this was Jake or Antoine, but someone came up with the idea of, okay, well, hold on a second. Why don't we just borrow an idea from some other GPU servers and put the GPUs at the front? Have front I/O. Because it's rack mount, right? You can have
that's totally
stuff in the back, stuff in the front. Honestly, if I'd thought of it, I would have put the networking in the front too. Why on earth do the vast majority of rack mount network switches have all their ports at the front and the vast majority of rack mount systems have all the ports at the back? I actually don't understand this. To be clear, some do. Some do have ports at the front.
Yeah, they definitely don't all.
They definitely don't all, and the vast majority of networking is in the front of the rack.
It's a pretty good question.
And I'm sure there's reasons for it because, just having everything waterfalling down the rack to the systems at the front it's not necessarily better than running everything around to the back anyway. But I get it. But the point is that we borrowed that idea and... we went to roll everything out, and there were some big challenges. It turns out that having 5 different people build all 5 of the systems results in 5 different sort of types of mistakes that can get made. So I ended up spending somewhere in the neighborhood of between like 15 and 18 hours over the span of the Friday night, the weekend, and then a couple of nights this week, putting all of the finishing touches on these systems. There were some extra standoffs in one of them. That was really awkward because I had to reposition the reset switch and the system was on and I was just plugging in a header, which doesn't matter. And the board flexed more than I expected because there wasn't a standoff in a spot where there should be one. And it shorted out on a standoff that wasn't supposed to be there. So that was a really scary moment. Fortunately, it survived. But I also, man, I did the works. Okay. I finally did it. I custom terminated cables for every system in my rack. They are exactly
Oh my God.
the right length.
Wow.
The water cooling to the pool is in.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
for all the one use too?
Oh, yeah. Oh. There are 6 systems running off it now. My personal machine, all 5 of the one use.
Right now.
Right this very moment now, all those systems
Wow, that's actually pretty cool.
are cooled by the pool. All the cable management at the back is such that I can have, if I need to perform maintenance on a system, I can have it unplugged out of the rack in about 30 to 40 seconds. And I've temporarily, because this is something hopefully I won't be doing a lot of, but I've got a radiator pump res combo and tubing whips with quick connects sitting on a bench. I can have it on that bench and plugged into those in about another 30 seconds. And I can have it booted in well under 2 minutes to do any kind of diagnostic anything. Because I ran into some weird issues. Out of the 5 systems, 2 of them wouldn't update the BIOS. I had one that was just resetting every time I tried to do it when it was in the rack and running over display. I mean, you never know. Theoretically, optical display port is totally transparent to the system, but I don't know. But the display would just turn off sometimes when I took it out and I put it on the bench. It just immediately worked and the screen never flickered or went away. So you want to eliminate variables. When in doubt, when something's going wrong, you just take out any potentially unusual circumstances around the system, you put it on a bench, you plug in just a keyboard, just a monitor, and power, and that's it. Nothing fancy. I actually want whenever I'm troubleshooting, I don't want anything good. I want the most basic old thing that just works.
Yeah. There's a long time there
Give me
where
DVI.
all the techies would go around with PS2 keyboards, because there's like a huge chance that your USB keyboard wasn't going to work in BIOS or whatever.
100%.
It's kind of funny.
Man, there's definitely going to be multiple videos coming. So we've got the one where we finally show the actual final build of these machines. We've got one where we do the plumbing for the whole pool water cooling, and we show...
What's the order of these videos can be released in?
There's been some debate internally.
Okay.
I think right now, building a final _3 final for real this time system is coming next.
Okay.
And then plumbing and so plumbing the house and then plumbing
final state,
all 5 of them into it is coming next. And then I actually need a bit more time to do a more thorough thermal investigation. So I had all 5 of the LAN systems running Furmark simultaneously, which means at about 330 watts per 3080. They have 3080s in them just because they are a banging deal. And I wanted to go EVGA one last time.
Yeah.
EVGA doesn't have 40 series.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
I also said I wouldn't go 40 series. And I was like, you know what? EVGA one last time. So all of them have EVGA XC3 3080s in them or something like that. So that's about 320 watts each times 5. So with the CPUs as well, we're looking at about 2,000 watts. Now, here's the thing. Alex and Jake talked me into using a heat exchanger instead of doing just the pool loop going directly into the systems. And look, guys, from day one, I've known that they are right about that. But I think you guys know that I like to live on the bleeding edge. And what the heat exchanger isn't is living on the bleeding edge, because you're going to be giving up some performance.
Okay.
A heat exchanger operates most efficiently when the difference in temperature between the fluids that are flowing through it is very high. But you gotta remember, one of my goals for this project is to cool the room. So it is actually not great for me, even if it's fine for the system, to have the coolant on the room side be 10 degrees higher than the pool.
Yeah.
So I think it is possible that post payoff with the heat exchanger,
might come out.
I might figure out how to fly a little closer to the sun and run the pool. No, and just to make sure you guys understand, it's not pool water.
Yeah.
There's no salt or chlorine. It's a loop that is embedded. It's just plastic tubing that's embedded in the walls and the floor of the pool. So it just loses heat over that immense distance to the concrete of the pool and to the ground. This is really cool. It was like super late. It was like 5 a.m. or something like that. And I was like, okay, so this is neat. I can see the temperature difference with the thermal camera of the water going out of the house and coming back in. So obviously it is losing some heat out there. And we reached an equilibrium point where the inside temperature, I think, was, I'm going to get some of this wrong. So there's going to be a video and we'll get all the details right in that. But somewhere between 8 and 9 degree delta between the inside loop and the outside loop. But what I didn't know was, where is the heat being lost? Because the run is far. Like it's...
Is it all... I think you just said this, but is it all copper piping?
There's no copper.
Oh, okay.
It's all plastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a mixture of PVC and I think it's PEX. I'm not sure exactly what the stuff they use for like in-floor heating is, but like that red stuff that they embed in the floor for like in-floor heating. It's just the opposite of that. It's in-floor... Well, it's in-floor heating the pool, but in-floor cooling the water. So anyway.
PEX.
So what... Okay, there you go, PEX. So what I was thinking was, wait, there's an access hatch out there. What if I take the thermal camera outside and go right next to the pool? And to my delight, even though it is so far, like we discovered this back when we did whole room water cooling. We weren't actually dissipating any of the flippin' heat outside because we were just shedding all of it inside the room with the copper tubing. And I thought I'd have the same problem, even though it's plastic. Obviously, it dissipates some heat, otherwise in-floor heating wouldn't work, right?
Yeah. But
even though it was small, there was a difference in the temperature of the water going into the walls of the pool and coming out of the walls of the pool. I think it works. I actually think, like, I actually think it freaking works, which is so exciting.
Yeah, bots and Floatplane chat says 9 degree delta is significant. Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, but what that means is that the room is not that cool.
Yeah.
Also, there was a fundamental flaw in the plan. Because from the start, I said, look, I want to cool down this room. But what I didn't really account for was that the vast majority of the heat that I would be removing with this system was net new heat. All the switches and like NVRs and the servers. I'm not going to water cool like the hard drives in my server.
Yeah.
All that heat is not getting dumped into the water. And so all the systems that are dumping heat into the water are being added to the room. So the good news is it's not hotter. At least you're not
increasing, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
It's not substantially hotter.
Much. Yeah.
But it's very clear to me that in addition to what I've got going on in there now, I'm going to have to add like a radiator door or even just a janky radiator plumbed to the pool water, just like I had before, to just take hot air in that hot corner of the room right behind the rack and just freaking run it through a radiator.
Minsil in Floatplane chat said, you live in Canada. If you want to cool the room, just put in a window. One problem, it's in like the middle.
Yeah, it's not, but it also, there's no window going in.
Yeah, okay.
Let me put it that way.
There we go. No window going into it, so issues there. And then two, that's actually a huge problem in BC, is a lot of our housing was built with no air conditioning in mind at all.
Or just cooling in mind at all.
And now the summers are getting like really unsustainably hot.
Yep.
And it's like actually a huge problem.
Yeah. So many people are putting in, move the stupid heat exchanger outside. No, that doesn't help. That doesn't help because there's still like the tubing in the reservoir and all that. Like it's not a bad idea, but no, the heat exchanger is going to stay inside for maintenance. The other thing too is that a huge part of the point of this was I didn't want to waste the heat.
Yeah.
I'm paying for the heat anyway, right? When you power a computer, you're paying for heat. So if you could do something useful with it, then you might as well. And obviously, I'm going to save like $20 on like the heating bill for the pool. $50 a month, probably not even that much. Like, yeah, maybe I save $20 on the pool heating bill or something like that. But
That's
$20
cool.
is
That's
$20, and it
times
was
that by a bunch of months.
yeah, it was more just like a proof. I mean, I'll never make back what I spent on the implementation of this.
No,
if it wasn't for content, it would make no sense. But it's cool,
Yeah.
And the thing is that you don't have to do it like this. I think a lot of people watch our videos and kind of go, that's totally impractical. Nobody would ever do it like that. And it's like, yeah, I know. But you could do it like kind of like this.
Pimp My Ride?
Yeah. Like I remember when we did Terran, old Terran, not new Terran, when we did old Terran's Extreme Tech Upgrade. He had kind of a janky version of essentially what I'm doing, where I have my system connected to fiber optic cables in a different room.
Right. He just like, yeah.
But he just had copper cables and he just had it like running under his door. But it achieves the exact same thing. It was so cool because I was like, hey, that's that thing that we made that video about, but done for like $23 instead of, $500 or, whatever it costs for a bunch of fiber optic cabling and in some cases having to have like a contractor run it or, digging around in your crawl space. Or like what Ant Venom did.
Yeah.
When he essentially did whole room water cooling, but just put it in his basement where it was a much shorter run and where he didn't have to have something outside that could, hazardously fall off of a roof at some point, which never happened.
No. We took
Miraculously, I got to it before it fell down. That was not good craftsmanship, what happened with that roof mount.
Ask Linus what plan is for winter.
Okay, so I think we're going to look into whether it makes more sense to drain the pool to winterize it or just run it at a really low temperature. Like I think I've heard that if you just run it at like 10 degrees or 5 degrees or something like that, that's actually pretty good. It has a cover. Like it has not a lid, but it has a cover, which apparently helps with efficiency, like flipping a lot.
Yeah.
I am a little bit worried about like dew point and condensation. However, the heat exchanger might be an advantage then. So here's something I don't know. What I do know is that as you go, a couple meters underground, the temperature is basically like kind of fixed year round. And that's one of the big reasons that geothermal heating and cooling works so well, because you can attach a heat pump to it and you can basically extract heat from the ground or put heat into the ground, and it's limitless in its capacity both ways, because it basically is this fixed temperature kind of year round. But what I don't know is whether that applies to 2 meters down in a pool, where it's kind of has outside air exposure. So probably not. But then if there's water in it, but then if that water is heated a bit or something. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly where you're dumping most of the heat to, because on the one side of the tubes you've got the water, and then on the other side of the tubes you've got the earth. So where's the heat going? It's going to basically, path of least resistance. Yeah, probably some both ways, but I don't know where the bulk of it is. And so I basically, my plan, and this is a very Linus plan, is to keep an eye on it as the temperatures fall and
just react.
See how that goes. Yeah. I'm definitely going to put antifreeze in it. I don't want it to freeze out there. So I'm just gonna go ham.
I know, like in the ocean, from like scuba diving, I'm sure you've experienced this. The further down you go, the colder it gets. But I don't know if the pool is really deep enough to have much of that property.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
And I don't know how much of that changes when you cover the pool, because a lot of that happens from how much sunlight is able to penetrate the water. So if you're covering the pool and it becomes zero anyways, I don't know how much impact that has because the water is going to churn to a certain degree. So I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be that if I do ultimately turn to my direct pool cooling system, that I might have to have like a valve.
Yeah.
So that in the winter, I'm actually using the heat exchanger just to make sure that I don't, run 0 degree or 5 degree freaking water into my rack and then end up with a bunch of condensation in it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of not bad ideas, I had another idea because I was sitting here thinking, hey, hold on a second. In the winter, do I really want to put this heat outside? I mean, kind of, it's fine.
Okay, so you're going to need like a series
Hold on. I'm going to get there. Kind of obviously if we do keep the pool filled, then it'd be better to have a little bit of heat going in there that's not burning gas for no reason. But then, okay, hold on, hear me out. New pitch. There's a fireplace in the living room that we don't use and is still not even hooked up properly because, contractor things.
Yes.
So I pitched to Yvonne. Okay, we create this motorized, or we have like fans that blow little pieces of red and orange and yellow plastic to make it kind of look like a little fire. And then in the back of the fireplace, I just have a radiator with fans on it that just blow server room heat into the living room all winter. Huh? It's not as stupid as it sounds because get this. The original plan for the server room was to run through these
You should get one of those kind of crappy, you see stupid commercials for them all the time, but it's like a fan, but the fan blades are screens, and when it spins, it creates an image.
Yeah.
So it's a fan blowing the air, and the fan that's blowing the air has flames on it.
Yeah. So we have these tubes that go from the server room to the side of the house.
So bad.
We were going to use that to run down to the pool, but then the other contractor, the much worse one, forgot to run 2 of those tubes. So there was supposed to be 4, 2 for the solar, hot and cold, and then 2 for the server room, hot and cold. Well, they only ran the 2. So we had to use those 2 for the solar heating.
Yeah.
And then we had to find another path for the pool one. Or for the server room one. So it went through that conduit that existed back when the original owners of the house had wanted to put pool equipment in the basement. And then that's apparently not best practice anymore. So it's outside in a shed. But anyway, so we have those tubes running. They happen to run almost right under the fireplace in the living room. So I even already have the tubes. All we have to do is put some holes in the ceiling and find them. Holes in the theater room ceiling. No problem. Wife approval factor, 10 out of 10.
Because it's the theater room, so she doesn't care.
Yeah, she shouldn't. Yeah, she probably wouldn't care about that anyway. Aborno says, I've always wanted to use my rack's excess heat to feed a 3D print enclosure. See? This is what I'm talking about. No, Yvonne did not approve the radiator in the fireplace plan.
Yeah, my first thought was just put a TV in front of it and put the screen of the Yule log fire on it, and I was like, well, that would kind of stop sort of all the airflow and also superheat a TV, which doesn't sound great.
Yeah, no. The whole point is that it's supposed to be a radiator that kind of looks like it doesn't need to look like fire. It just needs to look fire. So we could just paint it red. Red radiator.
Think, you know how the Dyson fans work?
Those Airblade ones or whatever?
Yeah.
I think work is a strong word for how they something, but sure.
Are they bad?
They're very expensive and they're really not very effective compared to just spinning blades.
And it's vacuum with pressurized output. Is that how it works?
I forget.
I've never actually known. That's just what I've assumed. If you could use that same type of system and just have a bit of a panel gap, maybe that could work. I don't know.
Interesting. I mean, it's not happening either way. It's just I don't know. I became infatuated with the idea of utilizing waste heat for something.
Yeah. Of course, because
that's the bottom line.
Yeah, seems cool.
So if there was some way that you could transport the heat from your computer to somewhere where you don't have to feel it, or that better yet you could use it in some way, I just think that's super cool. Like okay, I didn't realize this, but in some houses there's a loop that just has a separate pump on it that moves water around so that in key places, like the main
it like regulates
ensuite bathroom, you open up the hot water tap and it like has hot water right away because it just constantly has hot water. I had no idea that was even a thing. So in the main bathroom in our house, that was installed by the previous owners. I'd never heard of that before. Like in our old place, it took like a minute sometimes for the hot water tap to be hot. So, okay, what if I could use my waste heat to like heat that stupid loop that is just burning stupid gas for no stupid reason instead of like, so even in the summer is what this is what I'm trying to say. Even in the summer, there are potential uses for waste heat. There's sometimes times when you might need heat for something, but the problem with a computer is that, back to what I'd said about the heat exchanger, where part of the challenge is that the difference in temperature is not very high. Like the one that we're using, I think is rated for its capacity at like
it's also
many tens of degrees delta between the two sides.
Unless you mine or fold, it's also going to be very inconsistent. So you wouldn't necessarily want to use it for something, or you wouldn't want it to be the only solution for something that's like you're actually going to care about.
Yeah.
So like that causes some issues as well. If it is going to be something you're going to care about, you'd have to have backup systems or whatever else. Yeah. Really?
I'm surprised you didn't do InstaHot on every spot. No, that sounds expensive. And just totally unnecessary. I mean, for me, it's less about the cost and more about just kind of the wastefulness of it. I don't think that's really necessary. If that hadn't already existed, there's no way I would have installed something like that. I think I can wait 30 seconds for hot water. Then again, this is an interesting question. What's more wasteful? The cold water you just dump down the sink while you wait for hot water, or keeping that water? I'm actually not sure.